Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully, everyone's having a great day out there. The world, of course, is burning down around us, but we're going to keep going one way or another. Hi, Sabrina. Hi, Rodney. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Richard. Hi, Susan. Hi, Nana. Hi, Sherry. Hi, Tam. Hi, Brian. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Jenny. Hi, other Sandra. How you guys doing tonight? Hopefully, everyone, of course, is having a good night. That's what we're worried about here. Because the world, of course, is on fire. We're watching it happen. Sri Lanka is, of course, just the first step of dominoes that we're facing. They're going to hit the world. I mean, at this point. And Sri Lanka, of course, is definitely coming unhinged because of the Green New Deal. This is not a question now. Looking through the evidence and the facts of what happened, the food shortages that started this whole problem in Sri Lanka, all goes back to, of course, signing the Green New Deal, ending contracts or ending using chemical fertilizers, which, of course, they needed in order to produce crops, to going to organic fertilizers, which cost way too much. Farmers couldn't afford, and crops started dying, making it illegal to use, of course, chemical fertilizers. Farmers had no choice. Let their crops go. We're watching this not only take place there, but it's going to be taking place all around the world as this Green New Deal and these smaller countries, of course, are losing their crops. It's ridiculous. The force, of course, the U.S. has on other countries and what we're doing to the world at this point. It's just crazy. Every time I turn around, I see more and more. Of course, China is in distress right now, suffering rapid shutdowns as systematic failures and problems surface. Not just the banking institutions there, but experts have labeled China's approach unstable because they're trying to fix their problem with the real estate sector by logging in people's money that, of course, they have in banks right now, saying it's an investment. The only problem is if China does start to go downhill fast, we owe a lot of money to them. So the problem that lies there is the U.S. will have to be paying back its debt to China in order for China to stabilize its own economy. And I can easily see this making huge problems this year, if not early next year. With everything going on, though, it is a tragic situation. I mean, the Chinese economy has been slowing for quite some time, but we're now witnessing a rapid economic shutdown. And see, China could call in their debt and then shut their gates or shut their doors like they did many times before. China is one of the oldest countries in the world that is still in existence. But they know how to mend it. They can remain weak for long periods of time. They know how to control their people and shut down. And that's the scary part. If they call in they call in the debt that we owe them, it'll be a rapid goodbye to us. Rapid goodbye. Yep, I'm fading into the background every night now. No, I'm going to get a brighter background going here tomorrow night. I just haven't done it yet. It's crazy, though. And that's just the beginning. The job market here in the U.S. is starting to flash amber, if not red. Until now, the answer was usually been given by economists, those who are asking whether the U.S. has entered a recession, has been pointing out the job market. Like I talked about last night, job growth has remained remarkably robust throughout the recovery of the economy and jobs lost in the pandemic shutdown. Even last month's job report was barely off the 400,000 job mark on average. Unemployment claims remain low, but economists pointed out that the U.S. was about to reach its nominal level of pre-pandemic employment in the next couple of months. Suddenly, however, the job market doesn't look so good. Layoffs are up, hiring appears to be slowing, freezing in a lot of companies. And the best that can be said is its anti-inflationary policy of the Federal Reserve may be working. Maybe. The labor markets until now, were the pillar of the economy's resilience. are cracking. As job growth, of course, slowing and unemployment claims are ticking up, several big companies, including Apple and Meta, are putting hiring plans on hold, and there's a sign that more firms are slashing jobs in the industry. As a variety of tech, advertising, healthcare, and finance and law are all doing the same thing. Convenience store chain 7-Eleven just laid off 880 corporate workers in Texas and Ohio. 880. Ford Motors is planning on cutting out 8,000 positions in the coming weeks. Meanwhile, Rivian is cutting another 700 positions. It's another electric car company, if you guys don't know. GoPuff is laying off 1,500 of their employees. Loan Depot slashing 5,000 jobs this year alone. It is not looking good. And these are just the start of the cuts that we know right now. Previous weeks, on the average level of 200,000 or 244,000. The initial claims is already up just from last week. 7,000 unemployment claims a week are going up on average right now. 7,000 new unemployment claims a week. That is a huge sign that the economy is not okay. We're heading down the path that nobody wants to talk about. The economy is now fully failing, not just on the recession side, but on all sides. Meanwhile, Japan regulators approved the release of the water from Fukushima into the sea. The regulators. The Japanese nuclear regulation has approved a plan to release into the ocean water the water from the nuclear power plant. The government said, of course, today, the water has been used to cool reactors in the aftermath of 2011 disaster. It has been stored in huge tanks in the plant. The amount of 1.3 million tonnes has accumulated now, and they're going to release that back in the ocean. So we'll see how safe that is. We've already seen some fallout from the original disaster. The regulators deemed it safe to release the water, which is still contaminated with traces of trillium after treatment. So there's more dumping in our environments and destroying it and then blaming it on fossil fuels. The TEPCO plans to filter the contaminated water to hopefully remove the isotope, the harmful isotope, apart from the tritium, which is hard to remove. Then dilute it and release it free up plant space to allow decommissioning to continue. Plan still encounters stiff resistance from fishing unions, and regional fears of impacting livelihood. Neighbors China and South Korea, and even Taiwan, have voiced their concern. But at this point, Japan doesn't care. They got to get rid of it. So they're going to dump more nuclear waste. You're right, nuclear waste into the ocean. That sounds like a good thing, doesn't it? Yeah, we're looking at a full-fledged depression coming our way. Not just because of everything happening, but yeah, it's better. Meanwhile, the tech industry is now, I don't even know where they're getting this idea because we have such problems with our power grid, are studying the conception of energy-efficient wireless road charging. Yes, you heard that right. Wireless charging while you're driving on the roads. So you're going to be driving over huge EMF fields now. Of course, we know how safe EMF fields are. Of course, we use them for radar, to looking through the human body. Yeah, we're going to use huge fields to generate enough power to charge a car while it's driving over it. Now, does that sound like anything that should be existing? Anything that we should be doing? I mean, I think the study of wireless road charging shouldn't even be on the even in a thought process. Of course, the U.S. military, and trying to get us back in this war in Ukraine, is gifting Ukraine new fighter jets. Well, what type? It's a question that's coming out tonight. Since March, Ukraine has been pleading for Western warfighters, eventually replacing its aging, worn-down MiG-29s and Su-27s lost in combat. It finally appears the U.S. Armed Forces are willing to transfer some of our unused jets and begin training Ukrainian pilots. The U.S. and, of course, its NATO allies began to examine whether the potential to train Ukrainian Air Force pilots is even feasible. You want to build a long-term plan on how to build their Air Force, and of course, they're going to need it for the future. That's not a question. But Ukraine is not a NATO nation. It is not a friendly nation. And we already know what Ukraine has done in the past. Having a neo-Nazi party within their government that controls their military is not okay. But yet we're still pushing it. So the U.S., of course, there's a number of different platforms that could go to Ukraine right now. Maybe looking at A-10s, which are seemingly most likely up for discussion, because transferring A-10s would be the seemingly end of the matter and not really giving them too much more firepower. But it's crazy. Of course, then you have countries like what's happening in Berlin or Germany, in Europe. Dimming streetlights and shorter showers are being begged upon. Berlin pushes energy savings to have enough gas for winter. Some cities are already dimming lights and reducing heat and aircon. It's still not enough to ensure a steady supply if Russia cuts the gas. And Russia's been threatening this back and forth, so it's not like it's something new. They knew it was coming. Just nobody's prepared. But meanwhile, they have been dimming lights and, of course, rolling blackouts to force people to not use energy. It's where they turn grid sections off at a time and, of course, back on when they feel like it. In the middle of a heat wave at that. Then we got, of course, food issues here in the United States, and there's not just some states, but almost all of the top corn growers and corn growing states officially face moisture stress. Missouri, even the governor sounding the alarm, warns that spreading drought could spell financial ruin for farmers there. Missouri's governor declared that on Thursday, of course, the drought alert, as a state agent responds to the expanding drought. Financial ruin for farms is not even, it's definitely in the forecast now. And there's over 53 counties it will affect, largely in southern Missouri. It's sad. And it's all over the Corn Belt. So we got Iowa, of course, facing major stress. And Plymouth, Cherokee, and Willowboro counties facing extreme drought conditions. Go through the map. We got Illinois is, of course, facing the biggest drought, I think, in several years. Of course, they did get a little bit of rain that shrunk the size or the intensity a little bit, but not enough to actually put them in the positive. They're at a D2, which is a severe drought, dropping below 1%. And it's covering about 2% of the state. Illinois, of course, is 64% of the state. Has reported no moisture stress, but the rest of the state is, of course, affected greatly. 11% very short. 17% is short. Of course, nobody doing any good there. Nebraska, same thing. It's sad. Nebraska, Minnesota, Indiana, all facing moisture stress issues as this is coming. I mean, wheat prices dropped below pre-war levels today because a deal to en-bloc shipments coming from Ukraine was struck. But of course, we don't even know if it's gonna actually start moving grain. Deal was struck today following Ukraine and Russia struck a deal on the grain shipments. The price, which hit record highs after Russia's invasion of February, is now back to pre-war levels. But Turkey said it brokered a deal between the two sides to en bloc at least 20 million tonnage of wheat. Not nearly the average production of Ukraine, but it will help a lot if that wheat does get out. It's just one thing after another, though. Literally, the world is on fire. Sri Lanka, of course, the fall of Sri Lanka happened just because of the EU and their Green New Deal. And people are having to face those facts. If Ukraine does anything to Crimea, it's immediately doomsday scenario. Russia's already said this. Russia has already said this and made it clear. If anybody does anything, Crimea, it is a doomsday scenario. Well, it's sad. Yeah, Lake Mead is the Hoover Dam. I've been watching that very closely. We're still well above power production levels. Yes, it's at a low level, but it's not at the lowest level it's ever been. But we'll keep an eye on Lake Mead as we go forward. It's just one thing after another, though, as we're watching. The world on fire. Crazy, though. Watching it from July 20th or July 2000 to 2022. Lake Mead has definitely lost a lot of water. Still got a lot left. A lot left to go. If you guys, we definitely appreciate you guys' support. If you guys are able to support the show, please do. Trying to keep everybody up to date on what's happening and as it happens. Don, what purple lights? That's a good question. Yeah. But purple lights that are being installed at I figure out why the purple lights are happening right now. I guess it's just bad LED, a bad batch of LED bulbs. That's where the purple lights came from, if anybody's wondering. No, it's LED bulbs that are burning out. They're turning purple. They're not installing them, they're burning out. It's happening in several states right now. And they're working fast to replace them as quick as they can. But it's a different color. There's no safety threat, according to government officials. They still perform the same as white LED lights. The only difference is the color of the light, even though the appearance might appear like someone is a Prince fan. There's nothing actually wrong with them besides they're burning out. God bless you guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. We will be back tomorrow night with more news and more updates for you guys. Appreciate you being here. God bless you all. God bless America. We need it. We need it more than ever now. Hope we pull together and make it happen. Good night.